Heavy Cardboard, Episode 35, Food Chain Magnate. Coming to you from Davis's Diner in Denver, Colorado. Welcome to Heavy Cardboard, where we talk medium-heavy strategy board games, war games, 18xx, and other related topics in the board gaming hobby. We're your hosts. I'm Edward.
I'm Tony. Tell the folks how to contact us.
All right. First off, on Twitter, at Heavy Cardboard. Our website is heavycardboard.com. Facebook, Heavy Cardboard. Email. We love getting email. Contact at heavycardboard.com. Last but not least, our BGG Guild number is 2044. We'd love to have more folks in there, so come and join the party.
And thank you to the home of great games at great prices, GameSurplus.com. They're the sponsor of Heavy Cardboard. Check out their website, www.gamesurplus.com. Check out their inventory. Tell them Heavy Cardboard sent you, please.
A lot of Essen games are en route. Pretty much most of the ones that you want to get, they're trying to get. So send them an email and go from there.
Right on.
So we have a special contest coming up for our listeners. Since we know this is going to be a popular episode, considering the featured review, we're going to make folks work a bit for this one. The kind folks over at Cardboard Congregation have graciously offered up a free t-shirt of anything in their inventory, any of their t-shirts, to the winner of our contest. And they'll send it anywhere in the world. To enter, you have to visit our site. Yeah, anywhere.
Cool.
Well, I provided they have an address, because maybe somebody's in Antarctica, so hopefully not them. To enter, visit our website, www.heavycardboard.com/contest for all the info. Please, one entry per person, and good luck. Have fun with it. All right, so what's been up with you there, birthday boy?
Yeah, busy weekend. Took a 4-day weekend. My birthday was Thursday, so I took Friday off.
Right. Because for your birthday, we celebrated it in the best way possible.
Heavy gaming.
Yeah, 2-player Food Chain Magnate.
Oh, that's right. That night, man. Took Monday off. It was the wife's birthday, so a lot of that. Halloween. It was a good, busy weekend.
Yeah, it was a good time.
And the Broncos gave me a birthday present, too.
That was an unexpected just throttling.
They gave me another one today. They traded for Vernon Davis.
I saw that.
Yeah. I really didn't expect the Broncos to defeat the Packers, and they did so handily. So, undefeated feels so good.
All right, so for me,
Yeah.
there was an oversight on my part last episode. I should have mentioned Vital Lacerda's The Gallerist on my anticipation list. So, whoops. I would have had it as a 4-4 as in reference to anticipation and expected rating after playing. So, yeah, that was just a total. With, however many games we had, I was bound to forget one or two, and that was the most blatant one. So, sorry about that, Vital. Let's see, what else? Heavy con planning looks to be complete. Mm-hmm. We have locked down a place. Well, okay, we haven't signed the contract yet, but we have...
Therefore, we have not locked down the place.
Sure, we have verbally agreed to with them. But anyway, we have at least 70 people that have voiced interest, and we have about 40 slots. So that'll be interesting. Sorry ahead of time.
Yeah, that means when you get the invitation, RSVP immediately.
And by RSVP, he means pay.
Right.
So I got my new computer ordered, and it arrived today. It's sitting over there on my dining room table, and it's
looks like a bunch of cardboard boxes.
Yeah, it's killing me that here we are recording, and I'm not building it. But hopefully y'all realize my dedication and understand that y'all are worth it. So there's that. So BGG Con, T-minus 15 days, 12 when y'all hear this. I'm still upset that you're not coming. So the Heavy Cardboard Gathering, a reminder for those coming to BGG Con, Thursday night, 8 p.m. to midnight. It's in room 1113. It's on the 11th floor. We got room for 50 people. I hope we run out of room. We'll have giveaways and all that stuff and a lot of gaming going on. And hopefully some folks visiting, so that'd be great. More news.
Yes.
Extra Life is this Saturday. So the 24 hours of gaming. We're probably not going to do 24 hours.
I know.
But probably 16 to 18, somewhere in that range. Anyway, so that's this Saturday. if y'all have any money that you're willing to give for a really great cause, we'll link to it in the show notes, and we'd appreciate any donations that y'all are willing to give. The money goes straight to the Children's Hospital, so that'd be fantastic. The Heavy Cardboard Secret Elephant gifts are starting to show up and getting posted in the designated geek list there.
Christmas in November.
Right, and there is some really, really great stuff coming through there. I've seen a copy of Food Chain Magnate, Colony, Madeira, Triumph and Tragedy, and Craftsman. They're just people making fellow elephants happy. So that's awesome to see that people are living up to kind of what we envisioned in that. So a big thanks goes to Chris for running that and organizing it. So we appreciate that.
Should we invite him to HeavyCon?
Probably. I think he probably would appreciate that.
No oversights there.
Yeah. So the Guild, FYI for this episode, the Guild contributed lots of Ask the Elephant questions. Yeah. And the Guild just hit 500 members. The question is, are you one of them? If not, why not? Come interact with us and the community we're building. So yeah, come join the Guild, and it's a great way not just to interact with us, but also to get questions answered here on the show.
Yeah, I felt the questions for this particular episode were numerous and awesome, and really helped me in my direction for preparation. So
yep, same here.
Really appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely.
Okay, episode 35. We're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to have our full feature for Food Chain Magnate.
Full feature.
But we're not going to do any particular trailers of other games in this episode because we've been playing a lot of Essen games lately, and we are going to just cover those a little bit in detail. There's a couple Essen games that we're going to talk about in the next episode deeper, so we'll just lightly touch on those as well. And your wife Amanda will be joining us for this discussion.
When we get to the what we've been playing, so that should be good. Hopefully, folks enjoy that. So as far as
what have you acquired?
A lot lately, it seems. This was one of those weird episodes where, had that 3-week gap in between.
Sure.
Which worked out because it got us more plays of Food Chain Magnate, which is cool. But it just feels weird whenever there's this long gap. Feels like we should have been recording. So, first off, a couple of Martin Wallace titles. The limited edition of Mythotopia. I've heard mixed things on it, especially the endgame, but hard to pass up for $20. And also got the limited edition of Ships. So, and we got sort of that played. We played your copy, but my ships. Yeah. The wooden ships out of it.
It's really the only difference.
That and the money.
Wooden disc for coins. And the ships.
And
the ships are
cover.
Great, so.
They are. The box cover, I actually like the regular edition more than I do the limited edition.
It's kind of weird that
it is.
Did that, but hey.
Whatever. Also got Airlines Europe.
Yay!
So that has replaced for kind of a entry-level game for us. Got rid of Ticket to Ride.
Ooh.
Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn. Amanda and I really enjoyed our play, so that'll be something she and I play together. Our copies of Greenland. I think that's how you say it, right?
It's Greenland.
It's Greenland, but that's the Czech spelling,
well, I don't
maybe?
know. Some weird Nordic spelling.
Okay, anyway, the Vlada game. Yep. We haven't played it yet, but anxious.
Voting on resource distribution. Ding!
Right. Got the Sea Sammy 4-player expansion for Greenland. I had Greenland. I got rid of it, and now I'm going to pick up the second edition at BGGCon. So there were very few, I guess, copies of the 4-player expansion from Phil Eklund. Mm-hmm. Only at Essen, and only if he had something left over would he put them up on his site. Well, he put them up on the site, and I was able to snag one. And last but not least, and forgive me, all our Polish listeners out there.
Uh-oh.
I've been practicing this for 2 days. I'm still going to butcher it.
Drink some vodka.
Buja Igiecko, which is, it's the Polish 4-player version of God's Playground. In my opinion, has one of the best box covers of any game in existence, and it's a Grail game. It's really hard to get, especially here in the States, and I had a Polish guy put it up for auction at Essen, had a Dutch guy actually pick it up for me and then mail it over to me. So that was
an American guy.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. My goal is to get it played in calendar year 2015. That's the goal. So we'll see how that works out. But anyway, that's what I've acquired. How about you?
Well, let's see. Other than a couple of the titles you mentioned there, I got a copy of Canal Mania, my first Ragnar Brothers game. Let's see, Diluvia Project, My Village, and so here's a weird thing. I owned the expansion for this game for 18 months. And I finally bought the game.
Hold on. Let me see if I can... my guess is it's Magnum Sol.
It is. Speaking of Polish games. But here's a gig. I walked into my LGS, and they had a clearance shelf, and it was on there for 40 off. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll get it now.
Yeah, it's cracked me up seeing the what's the name of it? The expansion, Muria expansion for Magnum Sol. Because I played Magnum Sol, I've played the base game, and it was totally forgettable.
Yeah, sure.
I've heard the expansion, which is extremely hard to get.
Right.
Really makes the game good.
More dynamic, it seems.
Right.
From reading the rules on that. I set it up the other day. But anyway, with that LGS, I must say there is a lady that works there, and I cannot think of her name. But you know what? When she works there, it's an FLGS.
Okay.
But when Krusty Old Dude works there, it's LGS. That old 60s hippie guy takes the F out of FLGS. So anyway, let me tell you. Let me roll right into what I'm hunting and anticipating.
Okay.
Bretagne. It's en route. The Castles of Mad King Ludwig expansion is en route.
Okay.
That one's for the wife.
Sure.
She loves that game.
I enjoy it. I don't think it's bad. I love the auctions in it.
I please hurry, Lignum, Nippon, Gallerist, and Mombasa. And,
especially Lignum. Where the hell is my copy? I back the game, and all these people that just pre-ordered after the fact have gotten it. But where is my copy? I'm
hearing that maybe some of those copies were missing pieces and stuff like that, so don't be too excited yet. And then here's one I'm going to get. It's a co-op. Orléans, the invasion, or would that be Invasion?
Orléans?
Invasion? Well, it's got some cooperative scenarios in there, so I figured that might play that with the wife. I can't beat her at the game, so
if you can't beat her, join her.
Freaking play with her. So, what about you? What are you hunting?
Well, I don't know if it's really hunting or anticipating here.
Yeah, a little of both.
My secret elephant gift. I'm excited to see what I get, and from what I gathered was because my wish list is difficult and I fully admitted that it was going to be tough for whoever got me as a victim or target. And so my secret Santa, my secret elephant, asked, is there anything he had skills as far as print and plays? So I was like, well, I gave some ideas, and so he said production is done. Now, that could be production, that's what he did, or production, that's what somebody else did. Sure. I don't know. So I'm excited, regardless. And I don't care what it is. It's just fun. You know what I mean?
Very cool.
Obviously, I'm getting like 35 games down at BGG-Con. A lot of them used from the virtual flea market, but also picking up a lot of pre-orders. I would say, probably the highest, just to be able to see it, is Megasiv. I can't wait to pick up my copy of that. But yeah,
to heft up your copy.
Yeah, right. I'm just glad that our buddy Dave is muling all this stuff back for me in his car. So thank you, Dave. Let's see. I mean, Nippon, anxious to play it. Once we get our copy. Lignum, Mombasa, because I missed out on that, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Just a lot of the Essen games I'm really, really excited about. And the one thing that I'm curious about, and if anybody out there listening, publisher, designer, or just anybody, knows what's up with Tingoose from Rio Grande Games, I'd love to know, because it's a ghost town in the forums there, and Rio Grande Games is MIA, so I don't know if that was one of our big anticipation games, and to this date, I still have not heard anything. So that's a bit frustrating.
Indeed. All right, let's talk about games we've been playing, and then let's talk about the Essen games we've been playing.
Well, the only game that I was privy to play that wasn't an Essen game since all this went down, since our last episode, was Tinner's Trail. And the only reason I want to take a moment to mention that is, I mean, we've covered it a lot in some of our recent episodes.
We have.
But we mentioned that you had kind of been messing around with a variable market.
Well, the external investments.
Right, there you go. That's
Yes.
it. And so we decided, hey, why don't we try that out and see how it goes?
And I didn't even play in that game.
Right, and we did, and it was super tight, but I didn't feel like it was artificially tight.
Yeah, no, not at all. I jumped out to a huge lead, but by the end of the game, I actually lost by like 3 points, but it was all of us were within 2 or 3 points of each other.
Right, and it just felt like because of the way the mining operations went,
right,
I felt like it made more interesting decisions with the external investments than it does just as the base game.
Because the more money you invest, the better the deal.
Right.
So it kind of encourages you to cough up a little more cash between rounds.
Right, and that may leave you a little bit more short-handed for auctions and everything during the rounds. But yeah, I mean, it was one play, don't get me wrong, but still, I thought it was interesting, and I'm sure people are going to ask if you'll upload that to BGG. And so maybe we can convince you to do so.
Sure.
Cool. All right, so that literally is the only game that's not an Essen game that I've played in the last 3 weeks.
Oh, what about Isle of Skye? You played that with us.
Was that not
and
an Essen game?
Metropolis?
Metropolis, I forgot that one. But Isle of Skye,
I got that far before Essen.
Did you?
A couple weeks before Essen, a month? I don't know.
All right. I really enjoyed Isle of Skye.
Yeah, it was pretty cool for what it is. The advantage, disadvantage of going first. It's kind of cool.
I like the whole setting behind your player screen, the auction, how much.
Setting your price?
Yeah, setting that and then deciding which of the boards you're going to get rid of.
Palaces of Carrara. I haven't played that game in 7 or 8 months. And Paul Chad said, hey, let's play Palaces of Carrara, because that's something he wants to play. Man, that reminded me how splendid of a game that is.
It must have made a better impression on you. I thought it was fine, but I just didn't think it stood out. So
Paul Chad wants to buy 2 copies.
Well, that's because it's Paul Chad.
Because he's a nerd.
And he has a disease.
He'll keep one in shrink forever.
If not both.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
So, but now, I've only played Palaces of Carrara once, but I just don't remember being that wowed. So this has motivated me, hearing how excited you guys were in playing it. It's motivated me to want to play it again soon so that I can, I feel like I'm missing out on the fun, apparently.
Let's start talking about our Essen games then.
Start us off, sir. And
Well,
by our Essen games, you mean mostly Nicholas.
Many of them were.
Yeah,
Yes.
he our buddy.
So let's start there. Thank you, Nicholas,
Yeah,
for coming to Denver with a bag of Essen games.
Right.
That was very, very cool.
Yeah, that was cool. That was enjoyable. It was a fun game day.
The first thing on the list is ships, and this list is completely random.
Okay. Not in any
yeah.
specific order.
We're not, we're not going to talk too much about ships because we're going to cover it in a little more detail, a little more depth next episode. So for this one, I saw that automobile-like outer track and the map on the inside.
Beautiful production.
Oh my God,
first
gorgeous! So that had me intrigued. Martin Wallace is a hit or miss guy for me, So I want to try it, and so got it. We've played one game of it so far, so
Right.
we need to get a little bit more of that in there before we can talk deeper about it. But yeah, it's pretty cool. My initial impression was kind of favorable, so I'm definitely looking forward to play it again. Sometimes Wallace games take a few plays to really shine, I guess. Bring out
Right. Before there it is.
Right.
Aha, I
Right.
get it now. First off, when you see the board, you instantly think automobile, just because it's the outer edge with all the evolution of ships is very, very reminiscent, if not identical, to the same thing that automobile has. That's where the similarities pretty much end, though, in the games.
Yeah, well, ship technology moves along that track, kind of like automotive technology, but new tech in ships rusts old tech,
Right.
and penalizes you for it. So it's
Boy,
really,
does it.
But that is the only part that's automobile-like.
Right.
So
I dug the timing in the game, which actions to take, and making the most of those actions when you do take them, kind of building up for certain actions. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but again, it's one play,
Right.
and it wasn't. It didn't turn me off like after the flood did after one play. So that's an encouraging sign.
So let's see, Mombasa. So Amanda and I played Mombasa while you played Burano, I think it was.
Yeah.
Right.
Poor choice on my. No, I say that, but Mombasa was and Burano both were really high on my want to play list.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I at least got Burano out of the way, so I can tell you guys not to get it. Go ahead.
So I don't know, Amanda, what you think, but like going into that game, I didn't really know what to expect.
Yeah,
Investing in companies, that interests me, right? But the rest of it, I was pretty unsure of. I want the game to be good, of course, but I kind of reserved expectation. I just want to play it and see what the hell this game's about. But I saw deck building, stock ownership, worker placement, and territory control in the game. So what the heck can this contraption add up to? That was my questions about the game going in. So what about you? Did you have any expectations, Amanda?
None. I didn't even know what it was about. I just sat down to play it. The only thing that I would say about it is that we played with Dana, Matt's wife.
Yes.
And as I said, "Oh, it's the penultimate round," and Dana was like, "Wait, what? I just got started." So it did feel like it was too short for what it was.
I'm curious. On that note, again, I was over there for the rules teaching, so I have very little knowledge of how the game actually plays, other than the actual physical mechanics of it.
Well, I'm going to share some details.
So I wonder, is that a figment or a reason? I wonder if that's caused by first game, hey, you weren't really efficient type thing?
Yeah, it could be because of the way that you play the cards. I'm sure Tony will get into that more later, but it's I've never seen anything like that before. The way of how you lay the cards out, and then you can only pick up one of the 3 decks that you have.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah, of your played cards and stuff.
Well, in the game, 4 companies are vying for control over the different territories on kind of an abstract map of Africa. And they do that by placing trading posts in the different territories. And when they do so, the active player gets stuff. So even though I'm placing a company trading post there, I might get some diamonds or money or whatever. So
book points.
Book points, right. When those trading posts come off of their little storage area, some of them will reveal money, a little money symbol, which is really the sum of the money symbols is the current stock value of the shares in that company. So that's kind of cool. As you take trading post off, the price of your shares goes up. And of course, other companies can cause your trading post to come back, and that could affect the price of your shares in a negative manner, of course, right? That hand management aspect that Amanda saw was, and that drives all play, really is pretty interesting and fun, choosing which cards to play. So you choose what cards you want to play, and you lay them out, and then you execute them in whatever sequence you want to do, and then you discard them. But if I have 3 cards played, I have 3 discard piles, and so the cards will go into those. One of those discard piles I'll get back into my hand every turn. So it's kind of neat to figure out what card should I play into what discard pile.
Because during the rules explanation, Nicholas was mentioning how you can, kind of combine if you play multiple, say, coffee cards. But the problem is you can combine them on this turn, but then they're gonna go into different stacks,
right.
different discard piles. So you'll be able to maybe pull one of those back, but now you're not going to have that that synergy that you had playing them that turn.
Depending on how good you manage your discard piles, combinations are going to come and go.
That sentence right there just sounds cool and exciting.
Yeah,
managing your discard piles. I think this
game
cool.
has a good hand management mechanic. I like that. The ownership tracks for the 4 companies rather is pretty darn interesting as well. Each track has 22 spaces that you move your colored disc, and your colored disc, as it goes down that track, that's going to represent the shares that you get. But it's not 22 shares, 22 spaces. Each of those tracks after a certain point, you'll pass a spot where that represents that you've earned 1 share, 2 shares, 3 shares, and the number of spaces between those spots are not equidistant on that track, and even on between all the different company tracks. So each company's slightly different, and each company, as you progress down that track, once your marker moves past certain spaces, you, I guess, inherit a special ability of that company. And so that's kind of cool. There's differences in the companies.
Yeah, the asymmetry is definitely appealing. I like that. And I think he said in the collector's edition, because he had the wooden box one, which is in German only.
Yeah.
Came with either 1 or 2 extra companies, just for added variability, which I thought was cool.
And they're double-sided too.
Oh,
They're puzzle pieces. So there's 4 companies that you use, and each of them have 2 puzzle pieces that you put together. And then he said that there are cards in there that you can like shuffle up and determine like maybe the A side of company 1 and the B side of company 3 is what goes together.
cool.
Yeah, it's way cool.
All right.
It's a Euro game, though. Not a stock market game at all, really.
Okay.
There's a diamond track on your player board that you advance along and you earn victory points, and eventually the ability to play a 4th card into your display. There's also a book track. Think pretend accounting, and you advance along that, and you earn victory points as well. Plus the ability to play a 5th card into your display.
But that's just 4 and 5 stacks of discard piles that you have to manage as well, right?
Bingo.
Okay.
There's some worker placement spots on the main board where, in addition to the card play, each player's got some assistants or workers or what have you. And there's a market mechanic for acquiring cards that the prices will go down as the card stays on the board because they'll shift to the right.
Okay.
That kind of a thing. So the map play is pure Euro, and I felt a little gamey, actually. It kind of turned me off a little bit, the map play.
How so?
Just houses coming and going, and, I'll just get these diamond points here. And
Well, competition for diamond mines, that seems to make sense, and different companies are fighting for it. This company has it, this other...
That's the thing. The
What?
company didn't get the diamond mine points. I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
So the bulk of your scoring should come from your stock holdings in those 4 companies. But that diamond track and that book track are important and cannot be ignored. I scored like 35 points or something. I don't know.
Out of how
on
many?
the diamond track. Out of 106, because Dana beat me 107 to 106, man.
And I was in like the 30s. Let's not talk about
Let's
it.
not talk about it.
30s.
I forgot about the diamond track, okay? Leave me
Wow.
In the end, it's an odd mix of mechanics. The game is pretty good. I only have 1 play. I'll buy a copy. I'll play it some more. Right now, I feel like my copy will leave my collection. It doesn't feel like it's that good of a game.
Okay.
But it's
again,
one I want to explore some more.
It's 1 play, so that could change. Could change.
Didn't mean I didn't enjoy it, though.
Sure. I'm actively wanting a copy, so it's a matter of time. And how about you?
I enjoyed it. And I won't forget about the diamond track this time.
So, yes, on a copy,
Yeah.
right, for us? All right, cool.
So let's see, Royal Goods next on the list.
Yeah, this was a surprising little fun game. It's harkens back to Or at Labora. Even says so on the box.
Graphically, yes,
Yes.
it does. It does. I was hoping for Thinky Filler, and I think I kind of got that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's it falls in line with that Arboretum Impulse kind of range of games.
The point of the game is to build production chains rather, with your buildings, chains of more and more valuable goods, so that you can build more and more valuable buildings, because 8 buildings will end the game, of
Trigger
course.
the end of the game,
Yeah,
right?
1 more round after that. There's a central pool of resources that all the players can apply to their different buildings, so that's kind of cool to get the production going. You only have 1 worker when you start the game. So as you acquire more buildings, you probably want to think about acquiring more workers to staff those buildings.
Do more coke so I can work more hours, so I can make more money, so I can do more coke. And that type
Hell
thing.
yeah.
Right.
The buildings have 2 inputs, most of them anyway. The left side is raw materials in, and the right side is often raw materials, but sometimes it's manufactured goods that go in. But the right side is a more efficient.
Exactly, but you can't trigger that right side unless you've started off triggering it with that left side, which easier said than done.
So here's just a small example of a production chain. The sawmill takes 3 wool and 1 clay to make lumber, and lumber's worth 2 gold. I do not know why wool and clay make lumber. Maybe you kit out the lumberjacks with that stuff. Or
so hold on. It's wood and clay to make lumber.
Wool.
No, wool. And
wool. Sheep hair.
Right. Yeah, I understand. So,
wool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I not say wool?
I thought you said wood.
You said
no.
wood.
Okay. Wool. It's clothing for the employees.
Right.
And the clay, I got nothing.
It's the bowl in which they eat their porridge.
It depends on the type of card, though, because there's multiple sawmills. Some take wool and some
right.
don't.
Each building takes a slightly different.
Okay.
She's absolutely right.
Okay.
So this particular sawmill, 3 wool, 1 clay makes a lumber. Lumber's worth $2. The sawmill on the more efficient side can also take 1 wood to make 1 lumber. That's much more efficient. 1 resource rather than 4.
And thematically accurate.
Exactly. So then maybe I also have the cooperage, which takes 2 grain and 3 clay to make barrels. Don't ask. Barrels are worth $5. Now the more efficient side of the cooperage also can take 1 lumber, i.e. produced by the sawmill, to make 1 barrel. So obviously that makes more efficient use of all your buildings.
But the key here is you have to man those buildings to be able to to generate those things. Plus, you have to have the resources to have the inputs to begin with, and that's all on a day-night cycle.
It's kind of cool.
A cool little thing.
So Nils, our friend in Germany, is sending us both copies of the new version.
Thanks, Nils.
It's got some extra cards, which is really, really cool. Tell me what you guys think. I think it's a terrific little game. I do like production chains, and that's kind of why I'm predestined towards liking that. It's short playing, which is a must for a random kind of thing like this. I don't think it's going to top games like Arboretum and Pflaumen, but it's right behind them, and it will scratch that itch when I want a production chain game.
I'll agree with you about probably not catching something like Arboretum, but I would say it's on par with that other game that you mentioned, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Mm-hmm. If for no other reason than Royal Goods plays 2-player, whereas Pflaumen only plays 3 or more. So there's that. So how about you? You said you really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I liked the art of it, art on it. I liked
Clemens Franz.
Yeah. I like games where I can make a chain of stuff.
Chain.
That and you're big on tableau builders anyways.
Yeah, and cards in general. It was fun. I liked it.
Cool. Small footprint as far as like the actual game because it came in a Ziploc bag.
But once you sleeve the cards,
not so much. Huh?
No, the game comes in a box.
Well,
once you sleeve the cards, it comes in a Ziploc bag.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, got it the other way.
Although I saw a really killer box that somebody made, Travis or Brian or somebody, on Twitter. So I got to do that.
Okay, cool.
Well, let's talk about My Village next.
All right, let's.
Or your village. Mein Dorf.
Not your Dorf, not our Dorf. Mein Dorf.
Mini review, so not talk too much about it.
Yeah,
mini
because
review coming next week.
Right.
Or next episode. Marcus Seneca brand, dice drafting village themed game.
For me, the thing that impressed me is it totally feels like Village, but it's a completely different game. If
you have your own village this time.
Yeah, it's just it's impressive to me to have taken one theme and make 2 completely different games that feel similar but are apples and giraffes as far as the actual gameplay. And I thought that was really impressive. I really enjoyed this game.
This is the weight of game where dice mechanics are okay.
Yeah, they're welcome.
Right,
they're
welcome.
totally fine. Yeah.
And there are some dice mitigation mechanics in the game that are pretty neat and everything. I think it's for the weight. I think it's very well done.
I don't feel like this is a dice game version of Village. I feel like it's the same weight of Village, but they just made a new game using dice. But I don't feel, because to me, when I think dice version of a game, I think
it's
dumbed
not
down,
Village the dice game.
No, and that's what I'm saying. It's a legitimate, like, light medium game that is its own animal. So yeah, definitely not Village the dice game. Right.
Let's see. The component quality is pretty awesome in there. Those square cards they're
not cards. They're tiles.
They're a cross between tiles and cards. They're not as thick as a tile, but
They're so thick.
they're rocking.
They're like ivory core or
Pegasus
something.
did a good job.
Yeah, that was nice.
Robin's undefeated, so I'm gonna have to sell the game.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, I played it with you and Robin, and because Robin played, Tony and I got slaughtered.
So who won between you two? Because if Robin,
Tony.
okay, so
Yeah.
Robin was a foregone. So really, you can claim that as a victory.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's good.
So Tasty Minstrel hasn't really spoken up on Twitter.
From what I've heard, they are not going to publish this.
Right now, there's no U.S. distribution, and Pegasus is working on it.
But you said
I blame lawyers.
You got your copy for what? 55 US shipped.
55 USD shipped from Amazon DE.
Okay.
And Amazon's really starting to kick butt on international shipping. The game was here in like 8 days.
Cool. All right, so that's an option if people don't want to wait, right?
Plus, you know what? Marcus and Inca are expansion freaks. My Village
Port, My Village Inn. Yeah, I'm sure it's coming. I have no doubt.
So SteamRollers.
Yeah, so this was a under-the-radar little, very tiny print run of a train-themed dice game.
Right.
That I had heard about, and I was like, kind of fillerish and train theme. Sure, I'll take a stab at it. So I got a copy, and our buddy Andrew from Spiel Pro, he went to Essen and picked up my copy. I'm going to pick it up at BGGCon.
Cool.
So with that said, I was not a part of the SteamRollers game because I was like, I'd rather try other games that I know I'm not going to necessarily buy. So I got nothing on this. So
Well, the thing for me was I needed a 1 hour game because I was heading out to do dinner with the mother-in-law.
Right.
So this was suggested, and my first thought was Dice and Trains, Oil and Water. But it's a short playing game. Nicholas wanted to play and was ready to teach it, and ends up being, like Village, a fine weight for dice.
Okay. All right.
What's cool is players have an individual map in the game that you're going to draw your train routes on with a pen. And
There's not a crayon because this is not a crayon
this is not
rails.
a crayon rail game.
Okay. All right.
In the center of the board, you place an identical map, though, and that's going to have colored cubes on it that represent the goods. So think like Steam and Age of Steam, how goods go to the different colored cities.
Right.
Kind of the same thing where a purple cube will go to the city in the purple land. Dice get rolled. You select the dice you want to use on that turn. You can draw a track depending on what die roll. So if it's a 1 or 2, I can draw a curved track. If it's 3 or 4, I can draw a straight track. It's that kind of a thing. Plus, if I didn't want to draw a track with the dice, I could maybe move freight or do some other things like select a one-time or semi-permanent special power. I say semi-permanent because it's mine until someone else takes it.
Okay.
So that was kind of cool. Drawing the tracks was a blast, actually, man. And everybody doing their own map was a little weird because I'm used to, what do you call it, the synergy and everybody's networks, like in an 18xx game. You know? So that was a little bit weird, but it was really kind of cool to know that I'm drawing my rails over here, Chad's drawing his rails over there, etc.
Very intricate, rail drawing, I'm sure. I have no doubt.
Yes, scribbled lines. I should have drawn nice little tracks, though. Your train size matters, too, so sea size does matter, even in a game like this. It determines how many cities your trains can run through, and that's important for carrying the freight, because the more cities your freight hits, the more points you're going to score. And the scoring was cool too because of that. Plus, you add up the connections in your network. So overall, I thought it was fine. Glad I played. I'll play again.
Not gonna get a copy.
No,
especially since I'm getting one.
Right.
Okay.
You know that this will be another game that'll fit like that little window of time when we need to fill it up.
You know, it's funny. Somebody later on in this episode asked, hey, if you have 30 minutes, that type of thing.
Maybe 2-player.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
What about you? Does that sound interesting to you?
I'd try it. Sure.
Okay.
I like dice, and I like trains, and I like playing games. Yay!
I like trains. All right, so what's next?
Pi mal Pflaumen, which is apparently pi times plums.
Which is actually, from what I've understood, its rule of thumb is kind of how it's meant. But with the plums, it's kind of a play on that. It's rule of plums. So yeah.
In spite Matthias Kramer's name, because I do like some of his titles, I thought this was yet another trick-taking card game. And I'm tired of those.
Okay, I disagree that it's a trick-taking game.
You did not hear what I said.
Oh, what?
I said that I thought.
Oh, I thought
But my first impression was this is another trick-taking card
Oh,
game.
so you were kind of
Pay attention here, man.
Sorry. Sorry, I'm focused over on my computer part.
Yeah, yes. Salivating. I see a screwdriver on the table.
Yeah, right.
But Nicholas brought a copy from Essen and taught us the game. And on the way here, I picked him up at his hotel. He sold me on the idea by describing it as an auction drafting trick-taking game. Okay, sir, let's try.
Auction drafting set collection.
Trick-taking game.
There you go.
There you go.
Right. Okay.
The auction part is basically you're bidding for turn order.
Right.
You're playing a card from your hand. Well, 17. Amanda plays an 11, right? So
And I play a 4.
Right.
17's going to go first, 11 second, and 4 third.
in that turn order, we're going to draft those cards into our set collection, like you mentioned.
Into our Tableau 4 set collection. Agreed.
And some of those cards will have a little special iconography on them that might allow us to steal a card from another player or score some points for a particular set that's being collected.
Or play the dog, which
the
is
dog.
protect your Tableau from anyone stealing a card, as well as playing or some of these cards have the ability to score on them based on the set collection that they call out.
Did you like this game?
I was asleep because I had a migraine.
Oh my god!
Yeah, she didn't get a
I
chance
didn't get
to play.
it.
Oh,
I played it once. Nicholas taught it. We played it 4-player. It was you, me, maybe Paul Chad, and Nicholas.
Oh, yeah,
and
it was
then,
Paul Chad.
And then you guys wanted to play something, and so with Dana and Matt, I went and taught them how to play this, and I played it back-to-back times. One thing we haven't mentioned is if this doesn't win some sort of award for the most beautiful artwork in a game in 2015, I'd like to see what does, because this is absolutely just stunning artwork. Gorgeous artwork.
Dennis Lohausen topped himself 3 times.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I felt like I was looking at Audubon sketches of fruit. I mean, it was like so detailed. Hungry, delicious.
Exactly. Everybody gets hungry playing this. I really enjoyed this game. I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of it. I knew nothing about it prior to playing it. And as soon as we played it, I was like, so where do we get a copy? Just like what happened with Arboretum.
Well, Game Surplus is going to try to get some in.
Yes, they are.
And we also have Nils.
Thanks, Nils, again. It's good to have friends overseas. You know what sucks, though? Is when all your publisher friends are overseas as well. That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
That's frustrating. So the Diluvia Project rolling into Spielworks. This is one of 2 Spielworks titles that have come out this year. This and Haithabu. We are fortunate enough to have gotten an early copy of Diluvia Project because our review copy is somewhere in transit between here and Germany.
It's on a boat.
Germany and here. Hopefully.
On a
That's
plane. Something. This is another game I was unsure about what to expect with. It looked pretty standard worker placement, resource conversion. What would make this game stand out? those are my questions going in.
And I'll be honest, I had reservations about the game as well. Its spiel worked, so I'm automatically willing to give it a shot, no matter what comes out news-wise, good, bad, or otherwise.
In Uli we trust.
Yes, exactly. The funny thing is, Diluvia Project, I guess, Diluvia means under the water, and that was the original theme, I believe, or something to do with under the water. And they changed it to Sky City.
I know about the theme, yeah.
Yeah, they changed it to the Sky City, and so the name doesn't quite match anymore, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, it is a Sky City, so in order to build buildings, float buildings, you must buy land?
Clouds?
Airspace? I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Let's skip
theme
here, all right?
You're buying squares on the board in which to place square tiles that are buildings using the resources you have collected through your worker placement. Stop me if you've heard this before.
Yeah, there's nothing exceptionally different about this game, I didn't feel like.
Well, I do think there's a couple of neat mechanics wrapped around that standard worker placement stuff. Now,
agreed.
I'm going to be... That's kind of a bait and switch for our next episode, because we'll talk about those neat mechanics when we discuss this game a little deeper. But yeah, the underwater theme should have been kept. I'm seeing those propellers and I'm just thinking like oxygen supply, and you can buy land there. It's not buying an airspace or whatever. Anyway. In Uli, I mainly trust. All right, so the next two games I have not played. Antarctica is the first one. Did both of you guys play that game?
Yeah, we both did.
All right.
Winner of the weirdest game I've played from Essen is Antarctica thus far. So I've worked for a week and a half now on how to describe it, and I still don't know how to describe this game. It looks really wicked on the table, I feel like.
Very colorful.
Because there are three different types of buildings that you can build. There are cardboard ones that lay flat on the board. Then there's custom wooden buildings, custom wooden pieces represent different buildings. In my opinion, look like animals on a lot of them, but whatever. And then there are cardboard 3D stand-up buildings, which are real cool as well.
Huh.
Yet, the only reason for them to be those different materials and everything that we could ascertain was just to make it look cool on the table. A building is a building is a building. It did not matter
if it was 1D or 3D.
No, it had no thing.
Were there penguins?
There was one that looked like the head of an eagle.
Yeah.
But no penguins.
Amanda must have been disappointed.
Right?
She was.
So the game, it was repetitive. You're kind of going around circles on the board, selecting action. It had this cool sun mechanism to where wherever the sun was, that region was the active region, and it was only active for the first player, because there's spots for three different ships, which are, kind of your workers, if you will. And the first ship in each region, unless somebody has a rule breaker, is the only one that can then take an action. And so what they do is they take their ship physically from that region and can place it in any other region on the board, and then do something in that region that they just placed this ship. Well, when they place it there, odds are they're going to place it in second or third place in that region, so that the sun is going to have to come around the board 2 or 3 times for them to be able to get that action again. So it's just a weird ass game. That said, I really kind of enjoyed it. And I don't really know why. It was repetitive. You're just kind of doing the same thing going around the board. It had really strange scoring. But yeah, I kind of dug it. I would probably call it a 4 on a 1 to 6 scale.
Okay.
Yet I couldn't really give you a good reason why. Again, one play. Now I'm pretty sure Amanda will disagree with me on this one.
Yes.
Oh, did we not like it?
We did not like it. I thought it was dumb. I thought that the best part about it was the 3D standees. And us talking about that would look like an eagle's head or that looked like a windmill or of the wooden pieces. I did not.
bunny ears.
The bunny ears, that's what it was. I did not like it. I thought it was, there's many, many more things with my time I would rather do.
Wow. You actively disliked it.
Including having a migraine?
Yes, actually.
No, come on now. Yeah.
Well, that'd be how I'd feel about it. Just what I've heard.
It was just weird.
interest.
I'm curious to get other people's take on this because obviously, I mean, but then again, you guys don't like Reef Encounter, and I love Reef Encounter, so your taste can be a little,
Or our taste is the good one and yours is wrong?
No.
Reefer counter?
That's the Washington State and Colorado version of the game. So anyway, that's Antarctica. I'm curious. The one tar, Tiffany, she said, skip this game. So she was not a fan either. I wasn't, I'm not clamoring for another game of it. But at the same time, if somebody pulled it out, I'd be like, I'd like to try and be able to quantify what it is about it that I enjoyed. So I'm curious to see if anybody else out there has played this and what your thoughts are on that.
So keep going, Burano.
All right, so Burano came out of nowhere. I first heard about this game in March, and I looked at it, and I was like, whatever. And then as we got closer and closer to Essen, the buzz around it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just looked cool, the cube pyramid and all that. And it sold out apparently quick as all get out at Essen. So I was like, well, nobody that I know of has picked up U.S. publishing rights yet. I know Velma over at Game Surplus is talking to them. And they're like, hey, we'll be happy to send you 1,000 copies, for a good price.
How about for $1 each?
Yeah, no. So bottom line is it had some really interesting stuff, but it felt like it was really rough around the edges, like it was underdeveloped. I have no desire to play this again. I'm glad I played it this one time, but to be honest with you, very much try before you buy. You know how we like to promote, hey, you can rent the game,
right,
et cetera, for games that you're going to take a risk on.
This one's an expensive rental.
This would be, it's one that I would recommend not renting. Just try. I'm curious what the designers do with their next design. This one just felt a little, needs to go back in the oven. Just too many influences from Trajan and Macau and all, just...
I like this. Let's use it. I like this. Let's use it.
Yeah, and you and I really enjoy this a lot of the time. Just a good meshing of mechanics. This just felt bolt-on after bolt-on after bolt-on mechanic, and just for no rhyme or reason, and it just did not work for me.
Cool. I'll skip it too then.
All right.
It was low on my list to play.
It was really high on
Hearing
mine.
this report, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, I recommend if you get a chance to try it, but don't go out of your way to for an outlay of money to try it. That was so far the biggest disappointment of Essen for me so far has been Burano. The time has come for us to talk about our number one most anticipated game for the latter half of 2015, Splatterspellens Food Chain Magnate. Take it away, T.
Joris and Jeroen have created another heavy game for us fanatics of such games. The artist of Food Chain Magnate, actually there's two artists are Inza Moat and Iris Dehan. Splatterspellens publisher, as you mentioned. It's a 2 to 5 player game released just this year at Essen. It's about 45 minutes per player. That's what I've kind of jotted down there. Availability and cost-wise, I guess there's another print run coming. You can kind of back order it at Splatterspellens' site for about $82 US dollars currently, plus freight,
shipping.
Of course.
Right. So you're looking at about 110 shipped here in the States.
All right, let's talk about what's going on in Food Chain Magnate. As always, we're talking about the game flavor. See what I did there? Not a rules explanation. So this is a logistics game with elements of hand management,
Wait,
tech tree, simultaneous hidden action programming, special abilities, and spatial processing on a central board.
Wait, splatter and logistics?
Yeah.
Get out.
Actually, splatter is the Dutch word for delivery.
Okay.
Yes. The board is a randomly constructed set of tiles that depicts roadways, houses, and drink vendors. The roadways on those tiles create a network of routes that create individual, I'm calling them neighborhoods. It often ends up that the board is going to make, 1, 2, 3 distinct neighborhoods where the roads do not connect to one another. The initial turn order is drafted, and then the players select a location to establish their initial restaurant. Each player begins the game with a single employee, the CEO. This employee has the ability to hire one new employee per turn and can manage up to 3 other employees per turn. Employees in the game are represented by cards, and as you hire employees, you can train them for advancement in skills. You build your hand of cards thusly. An important role to hire, obviously, is a trainer, so that entry-level employees can become more efficient and provide new capabilities for your business. On each turn, you're going to select a number of employees to work in your enterprise. The remainder are at the beach.
Worst place to be. There are worse places to be.
There are. Some of the employees that you hire are going to be in management, and they can themselves manage a number of other workers. So, by hiring managers, you can increase the number of employees that can work in your enterprise from turn to turn. Kind of an important concept. So, each turn, the players are going to secretly select the employees that are going to work that turn. For example, if I have only my CEO as a manager, as I've mentioned, I can select up to 3 other employees to work that turn. If I select less than the number of employees possible, each empty position applies to the resetting of the turn order for the turn. The player with the most empty positions will be the first player to select their turn order position. And there are benefits, of course, to being first, benefits to being last. Just depends on where you are in the game and what's going on. On your turn, you're going to execute the abilities of each and every employee that you selected. There's no choice of not executing. They're working, then they're doing. During the course of the turn, in addition to adding more employee cards to your deck, the players can do things like train up existing employees, market food and drink items to the various houses on the boards. There are pizza, burgers, Coke, beer, and orange juice, but we call it lemonade since
It looks
it's
like
yellow.
lemonade
Yes.
and it's yellow.
Another thing you can do is place new houses on the board to increase demand, added demand. And you can also add gardens to existing houses because these rich people, they're going to pay you more for their food products. You can also open new restaurants. You can even, and I think this is kind of cool, move restaurants. So, hey, this location's not working so good.
We're going to move over to Uptown.
That's right. So when all the players have executed their employees' actions, the houses are going to seek the restaurants that can meet their demands in full. So
That being the key, in full.
yes, if a house wants a burger, a Coke, and 2 beers, then you have to have all of that to be eligible to possibly provide them. Also, a house is looking for the best economics of both location and price. So, if your restaurant's further away, then you're probably going to have to offer a better price than your competitors. Having waitresses, and therefore good service, is an important tiebreaker when luring customers.
Which makes total thematic sense.
Indeed. When you sell products to a house, you collect money, and primarily this money is going to accumulate and represents victory points. But from time to time, you are going to spend money on employee salaries. If you got a big staff, you might spend a lot of money. Here's a twist for you, though. The houses are all numbered, and they're executed in that sequential order. So, it's possible that you may end up selling things to houses that you did not expect to do so.
Nor want to do, but
Or
you
right.
don't have a choice.
Right, because then you could end up short for houses that you did expect to sell to. Planning and paying attention can help you avoid such embarrassing moments, however.
As does game and game and game of experience, and you'll still make those mistakes. But I digress. Continue, sir.
Salaries are then paid to all of your employees, even those that did not work this turn. Paid vacations, baby. PTO. Not all employees are going to require a salary. That's just a game mechanic. Your entry-level employees are free. And from then, other
Interns.
higher level employees are going to cost money. Interns, there you go. You can fire any employees you don't wish to pay or can't pay. Paul Chad. Lastly, the marketing campaigns that are ongoing will reset the demand in each applicable house for the next turn. This is also an interesting mechanic as the marketing campaigns are numbered and executed in order as well. As more advanced forms of marketing make their presence, so there's billboards, mailing campaigns, airplane banners, and radio ads, the demands of the houses will change. And there's going to be houses that no longer want your pizza because they heard that cool new ad for a burger. The game's going to end when the bank breaks, but it's played over the course of 2 banking rounds. At the beginning of the game, the initial bank is set at $50 a player. Also, each player is going to secretly select a card that indicates the amount of money that should be put into the second bank. That's $100, $200, or $300. Your selection should be made based on if you will be pursuing a longer or shorter strategy. If you think you're going to be needing more time, you better select the $300 card. When the initial bank is broken, these cards are revealed and the second bank is established. So, in a 3-player game, if the initial bank is $150,
$50 per player, right?
If 2 players secretly selected the $200 card and 1 player did the $300 card, the second bank $700. When that second bank is broken, that round's going to end the game. One last thing. During the game, you can earn milestones if you are the first player to do certain things. It's certainly possible for multiple players to earn the same milestone in a given turn. And the milestones that you earn will give you special advantages in the game. For example, maybe you get an extra cash bonus when you sell a particular food item, or you have the ability to store unsold food and little things like that. Pretty important stuff.
The player with the most money at the end of the game wins.
All right, let's review the scalability. To start with, I will say that I played 4 games, 1 2-player game, and the rest were 4-player games.
All right. And for me, I have 6 plays thus far, and I played it that once, 2-player. The rest have been 3 and 4-player. However, I did kind of GM or moderate and kind of run through a 5-player game.
Cool.
So while I wasn't actively playing in it, I got a good enough feel for the 5-player game.
Scalability, sir.
I think it's fantastic. I genuinely thought I disliked the 2-player game and ended up loving it.
Yeah.
I would happily play this across the entire spectrum of player counts, 2 to 5, and have no reservation whatsoever.
Yeah, I have not played 5, nor have I played 3. I'm very interested to play both. I have a feeling that 4 is going to be the reward for good play versus chaos penalty sweet spot, but not opposed to playing it at any count.
See, and the 2-player game had a bit of a zero sum.
Yeah. So let's talk about the cardboard. This 50s art style. What's up with that?
I dig it.
Yeah,
I like it. The components, they have that 50s retro theme and feel to it. The map tiles, I gotta say, are a bit utilitarian.
Well, somebody asked on Twitter when we tweeted a picture if this was a pre-production version of the game,
right,
because of those tiles. But I think it actually helps the gameplay in the same manner that 18xx maps are plain.
I totally get that.
The map doesn't get in your way.
Right, and I completely understand that. And with both Jeroen and Joris being big 18xx fans, I get where they came from with that. There, like you said, some people said it looks like a prototype, and they'd never spend $100 on a game like that. C'est la vie.
Yeah,
your loss. The food bits, the wooden components are fantastic. It's just all the chits, all the marketing tiles, and everything are thick cardboard. Very, very happy with that. The cards, I do wish were linen finished. That's kind of my...
You have a fetish.
I do. So
what about the thematic match to the components? Like that, the player aid that shows the employee stuff is shaped like a menu.
It's fantastic. They
cool.
did really well on that respect. Where they didn't do so well is the paper money. It's paper money. No, No, just
No, but in this case, you're not really spending it. You're accumulating it.
yeah, I get that,
But we play with poker chips.
yeah, exactly. That's my point.
There is one bit of graphic design that I'd like to point out. The box says 100% dice free.
I think the graphic design's quite good. There are some minor mistakes. The lack of infinity symbols on some of the marketing tiles. The executive vice president says it has 6 people underneath them when it's really 10. Even with those, I give the game high marks. It's easy to understand and follow along with that great menu, i.e. player aid. However, the biggest omission in the game was the non-inclusion of a milestone reference sheet or player aid or on the player aid.
Right.
I've seen a couple of great fixes for that on BGG, but it should have been caught and addressed prior to going to the printer. So that kind of pissed me off. That was a big disappointment because our first game, we had to keep referencing back to the book, and
It's on the German menu.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I saw that Chatty Boy from BGG, they made a sticker that you can place on the back of your menu.
Cool.
That has that. So there are fixes, but other than that, I think the graphic design overall quite well done.
What about the rulebook?
Outside of a couple instances of switching terms when talking about the same things, I thought it was laid out exceptionally well and easy to follow. Pretty much everything you need is well laid out in the rule book, but unfortunately, there are some clarifications that definitely were needed for some rules. Jeroen has been hyper vigilant on BGG addressing questions, and they plan on including more clarifications in the third printing, which is due out in December. So there's that. So overall, I was pleased with the rulebook. You can play the game just from reading the rules, which, as dumb as that sound, kind of novel, because some games you really got to fight through, and I didn't feel like we had to do that at all with this. All right, Tony. So tell me, and tell our listeners, fill in the blank. What makes this game blank?
Heavy.
I totally agree. So start off with complexity. Kick it.
Let's see. The rules are simple, I think. I don't really feel there's a lot of complexity in the rules themselves. There's a weird thing that seems kind of counterintuitive in the rules that you can only train employees when they're not working. So you got to just make sure that's understood. But other than that, I really don't feel like there's rules to trip up people or easily spaced out.
The best way I can explain it, I think, is to compare it to Democker, in that it's very procedural with each step clearly laid out, and no step in and of itself is difficult mechanically whatsoever. Dare I say, the game's relatively simple from a rules standpoint. I feel like the game is the epitome of you'll have to see it in action, then it'll make sense. It becomes intuitive as you go, but it's easy to rush through steps even when you know the game. Easy to skip things this way. Suggest just slow down and follow through the steps. Procedural as it might be, it makes the game flow better. And one thing, kind of an easy thing to overlook is when to pay waitresses, because it's not laid out on the player aid.
Right. Cool. So, planning?
Yeah. And now we have come to the point in the show where we explain where Chain Magnate gets its weight from, and that's the planning. Every single decision in this game carries with it weight and a butterfly effect and implications down the road. There is no decision, I feel like, in this game that is just, I'll do this, and it has no ramifications the rest of the game.
So I think that the planning involves a mix of strategic and tactical play in this game.
I would agree with that.
Like overall, do you have a strategy? So am I playing the long game and need a powerful organization that's going to score me a lot of points at the end? So I better make sure the game lasts a little longer. To this end, part of the planning for that is what employees do I need? When do I need them the most?
And
the training.
That being key, the when, not just
right.
who,
when,
but when.
In this game, your strategy is not, I'm going to sell burgers and Cokes.
Right.
There is no strategic path through the game based on products. You don't choose products and a path and go down that. Players don't choose different products as their paths and go down them separately. Your strategy is really an analysis of the layout of the board, which is unique for each play. And then you determine what neighborhoods exist, etc. What would be good marketing opportunities that could help me and hinder opponents? How are the blocks formed? What are good restaurant locations? Where are the drink vendors, and what's the access to them?
So what you're saying is a lot like what a business owner would take into consideration.
Yeah. Your strategy is to win a business battle by deciding what tactics work best on this board. That's my opinion. Again, you don't approach the game thinking, next time I'm going to try the Coke and Burger strategy. So to relate that to other games, Zolkin and the Temple strategy, Village and the Traveler strategy, those notions don't exist in this game.
Completely 100% agree.
Tactically, other players are doing things on every turn to better their position and to damage my position and your position, right? As you would expect in any game. But here's where I see the tactics kind of relating to me. And remember, miniature wargamer here. So the board's a battlefield, a business battlefield. There are roads, but instead of hills, woods, and stone walls, we got neighborhoods, houses, drink vendors, varying access points. The tactics on the board are not unlike the tactics on a battlefield. Let me deploy this brigade here. No, let me market burgers to the houses on this block with a mail campaign. Only I am selling burgers at this point, so that makes some sense for me. Hey, let me build a new restaurant here. They say business does parallel warfare, and Sun Tzu's Art of War has been applied to business practices. So that's where I see the planning. It's a mix of tactical and strategic elements like that.
I had other stuff written down, I got to be honest, but yeah, that summed it up pretty well.
What do you think about luck and random factors?
There is no luck in the game, but it's not a perfect information game. During the restructuring phase, you don't know what the corporate structure each player is planning on laying out each turn, because that's all done in secret by choosing the cards, from all the cards that they've acquired throughout the game.
Good call. Not perfect information.
Right. As you get more experienced, obviously you can make educated guesses, but you're still never 100% sure. So 0 luck outside of initial turn order and 0 random, but not perfect information.
Well, the layout of the board's supposed to be random, but...
okay, I was going to hit on this later, but we'll go ahead and touch on this now. So we experimented with something in our two-player game. So a two-player game, the board is set up in a 3x3 grid. So what we decided is we just randomly selected one tile to place down. So now there's going to be a total of 8 other tiles. We each randomly selected 5 tiles each, and then, like a draft, we placed one, and we had to say we said it was orthogonally adjacent, and we kind of drafted our own, custom board that half you wanted, half I wanted, and of the 5 tiles that we each got, we placed 4, so one of them we wouldn't choose, and it just added another kind of layer to it.
We built it in a way that had 4 distinct neighborhoods too, because we had never had that before. So
right. So yeah, I should have said that the initial turn order and the initial layout of the board.
Right.
Or you could try our little variant, whatever, and make it not random. But outside of that, 0 luck, and outside of that, 0 random, but not perfect information. That said, I do think this contributes to the weight of the game, the heaviness, the fact that there is no luck and no random.
I like what you're saying there. I'm thinking that the random that there is in the board layout contributes to it as well, because every layout's going to be different.
And it forces you to analyze every...
It's not like, I'm going to put a building there next game. No. That neighborhood doesn't exist next game.
Take an 18XX game, almost exclusively they're static maps. And this company will start on this tile every time, and there's nothing wrong with that. But this added variability here forces you to reanalyze and just make your plans based on how the board is laid out every game. I think that's only a plus as far as adding to the weight.
So do you think the game length is a factor?
I don't. I feel like it's the right amount of time for what it tries to do and just doesn't add to the weight of the game. Do you?
No.
45 minutes a player, to me, is not a long game.
No. So, how long does it take a person to get it in your estimation?
I don't know the answer to this. I'm 6 plays in and still getting caught with my proverbial pants down on occasion, more than on occasion. That said, I'd say a couple of plays minimum. Again, getting it mechanically isn't the problem, but having a clue how to play well, you're going to need a Snickers bar because you're going to be here a while, and it's only another great thing about the game. I think this has, to play well, an incredibly high learning curve. Not to play it and to have the rules get out of the way, but it's extremely long in a good way.
I think a full game will serve just to open your eyes to what may be, and I will warn you that you could possibly become obsessed with thinking about those possibilities. Okay, as regular listeners would know, this is where we're going to start talking about the things we like about the game, but we're going to deviate a tad in this episode because there were some really cool questions in the guild, and what we wanted to do was just tee a couple of those up for some specific discussions. So, let's get started. Edward, I'll lead to you, sir.
All right.
Is this a business game or an economic game? The term economic being somewhat liberally used was the comment.
The game is clearly not an economic game. It's a business game. This is no more an economic game than something like For Sale is. Just because it has money in it does not equate to being an economic game. Money is victory points, and the only money you lose in this game is when you choose to pay your employees. To me, that has little to do with an economic game. How about you?
I totally agree with what you said. I tried to break down what an economic game could be, and I came up with 2 categories.
Okay.
Wealth investment as category 1, where money, the sole measure of victory, is continuously and potentially wholly reinvested in the game, possibly even into other players, to seek greater returns than you would get from hoarding your money. Not reinvesting is not a viable path to success. So games like 18xx games, Arkwright, Imperial, even Container to some degree.
Okay, all right.
And then there's wealth accumulation games, where money, the sole measure of victory, is accumulated as if they were victory points. You're going to spend money here and there during gameplay, but earned revenues are not largely at risk. Games like Chain Magnate, Indonesia, even to some degree Container. I think that this is a business game, economic game, whatever. I'm calling this a wealth accumulation game. Let's talk about the milestones.
All right, so first off, is this a tech tree? Someone asked. I say absolutely not.
No.
There's no path of upgrades that players can take.
Yeah, no branches.
Yeah, so we'll touch on
Trees
this.
have branches.
Right, we'll touch on this a bit more when we talk about the employees.
They are definitely special abilities you acquire, and you can share them and stuff like that. Do you think they channel players towards specific strategies?
I feel like channel seems to indicate like a distinct path, and I don't think I agree with that. They kind of guide a player into certain actions, but no more so than that. What do you think?
I don't think they provide a channel at all. I think they can benefit your play, obviously, but just because I get extra $5 when I sell burgers doesn't mean I can actually sell any burgers.
Yeah, it doesn't give you the ability to sell better than I do, right?
And so, the game's always it's gonna be changing as you're playing. So, channels are nebulous,
and that's what I'm saying. It's too. There are too many branches on this for it to be a given path.
Your strategy is based on the board, not your milestones.
Right.
They're going to help you.
They will help, but they don't channel.
Does the distribution of milestones in the first few turns decide the game?
I say if that were the case, why play the rest of the game?
Right. Maybe with noobs. Maybe it seems that way, but it's just not that way.
Yeah, they may give a player or players a leg up in certain areas, but that just means that the other folks have to thwart, what they're doing and where they have the advantage.
So did the special abilities from the milestones have a similar feel to the gods in Great Zimbabwe? And do you enjoy earning them rather than choosing them?
I can see that. I mean, in the end, they're rule breakers or they're player powers, in some respects, or at least some of them are, which I enjoy in games where they're implemented well, and they're implemented well here. And I always prefer earned over given, kind of that feeling of accomplishment and all that.
TGZ, they're monotheistic, so you only get one. Any other thoughts on milestones from you?
I feel like they're vital to the game, and without them, there would be a much smaller decision space. Let me ask you a question.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I do feel like they're impactful in the game in a meaningful way. Let me ask you, would you compare them a bit like the private companies in an 18xx game where they give enough variability to keep things changing game to game?
I definitely feel that I can draw parallels between a private company and these things because in many 18xx games, private companies have powers, right? So what did you mean by they provide the game would have a smaller decision space without them?
I feel like
I'm going to flat out disagree.
I feel like the game would be too linear. There would be less.
What?
Yeah, I feel like there would be less decisions to be made without milestones. There would. Let me word it a different way. Everybody would go down a very similar path without the milestones. Absolutely, I think that's the case. I feel like this, it doesn't force your hand, but it gives you reason to go off in different directions based on what milestones you have. I think that's an absolute no-brainer.
That's kind of counter to what you said about them not channeling you.
They give you options, but they don't force you into certain directions.
So options don't. I just don't understand the corollary to the decision space because I'm interested in trying a game without the milestones. I think the game would be harder without them because in many ways they kind of represent something I don't always appreciate in heavier titles. These magical, mystical things like an extra $5 on burgers or 50% more earnings or 3 free trainers. I don't mind them in this game. I don't see them as their absence reducing decision space. In fact, I think it's going to be harder for the players because you're not getting an extra $5. You're not getting 3 free trainers. You better earn every step. You know what my milestone is? Victory points.
Let me rephrase. Not reduce the decision space, but it varies. It broadens the decision space. That would be a better way to word it. Because I feel like that...
We're going to have to disagree.
Okay. All right.
So let's talk about employees. How important is the simultaneous selection of employees that you put in your org chart every round?
The game would break if these were revealed in turn order, I feel like.
Yeah.
AP hell would happen from players later in turn order, and the players later in turn order would have a huge advantage. This also would remove the legitimate decision of where to be in turn order each turn. Less decisions equals worse game in this case.
I totally agree. I do think this is the tech tree, though, the employees.
Partially. Part of them are a tech tree. Specifically, the executives, I feel like, are a tech tree because they can upgrade into different paths.
Sure,
but
some of the techs are dead end.
Right.
Some of them are more narrow than others. That's all.
Right. Very linear. Right.
Is a bigger organization better than a smaller one?
Nope. All depends on your strategy for the game and how players are playing and the board makeup. And we've seen in our games both be viable. It all depends on the game. You can't dictate to the game. The game will dictate to you.
The better organization is best.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it just between the game and the players, it's going to be determined.
Let's rock into what we think makes the game fun for us. Why don't you start?
Well, first off, theme is sweet and well implemented. The components are great. Every decision from pre-game on matters.
Totally agree. And some of those decisions are the pricing wars and the marketing wars because, OMG, they can get ugly.
Yeah, I had written down here that marketing can be marketing to help yourself as well as a weapon to hurt others.
Absolutely.
Which a vital weapon.
Vital.
If someone has a monopoly on a couple of houses or something and they're producing burgers like a champ or whatever.
Boom! You put some lemonade up in there.
Yeah, they don't have access to lemonade? You just crushed that at least for 2 turns.
Right.
So, and that's fantastic. I love that.
The org chart of the employees. I really, really like selecting what cards I want to be in there, figuring out who I want to train up to what, and the deploying of them every turn.
Talk about agonizing decisions on that. Not just who to hire, who to train, but who to put to work this turn is just
I always
delicious.
have this pressure of, I want to hire more than one. Oh, I need to hire a trainer, but I can't because I really need to do this.
Right. Stay on target. Stay on target.
Oh, man.
I love the variable game length by players seeding the bank for the second time. Is there any other game in your experience, because there's not for me, in which the players, whether it's secretly or how in some other form or fashion, will dictate how long based on what strategy they're going to try and employ pregame? I think that's
it's cool.
At least to me,
Innovation.
that's pretty innovative, and I'm curious if there is anything out there that I haven't seen.
What's your favorite mechanic in the game? One.
Okay. Oh boy.
And I'm not talking about Bill down at the shop.
He is helpful though. My favorite. I don't.
Too many?
Yeah, it's.
Here, let me share mine. Give you a second. Maybe this is your favorite too. I don't know, but like the distance calculation and all of the stuff that goes into that. So like, who's going to buy? What house? Who's going to serve that house? How far you are away? How many waitresses you got? What's your pricing scheme? Do you have everything? Did you get screwed by some other house that fired off first? God, I love it, man.
I don't know if that's really a mechanic. I love the gotchas.
It's not distance calculation. It's the demand satisfaction mechanic or something.
Totally agree. And there are so many
simple, effective.
Yeah. Well, it's simple until you realize you're an absolute idiot because, damn it, I didn't factor in this.
Yeah.
And, I didn't think he had any waitresses yet. To where I thought I could get away with just getting away with not playing any because I was hiring turn order, so I didn't need to worry about. Damn it! I screwed that up again. Oh, wait, I forgot. I thought the marketing was going to fire. No, I'm an idiot because the marketing goes after dinner time, and I knew that, but I totally just forgot.
Because of that mechanic, we hear a lot of, I'm screwed.
Yep. And there's a lot of cussing at yourself as much as there is at other people.
You just said damn it like 8 times just in that explanation.
Yeah,
so that should give you some indication of
I love that I'm 6 plays in and I'm seeing so many new interlacing things. Like there are still some employees that people have not used in any of our games. In every game, just about, I see new stuff. Well, not just about. I've seen new things, but I've seen employees used in different ways, and it's just the amount of just ways this thing can go is just mind-blowing.
It's kind of sandboxy.
Kind of?
Within that sandbox, the result of your decisions matrix to the results of the decisions that the other players are making are directly materialized in the game, man. This is the kind of stuff I'm seeking. I've always said I enjoy it when my path through the game must be altered by your path through the game.
Yep.
This is not multiplayer solitaire.
You and I, ever since Panamax came out, you and I have said that Panamax was the epitome of interaction in a Euro.
Yeah.
I think that's been eclipsed now.
It's a different form of interaction here, but I can agree with that. I can get on board.
So one night we were sitting around, and I think it was Paul, Chad, me, and Amanda, and it may have been you. And one of us, I think it was Chad, brought up that there are so few games with the decision headspace or decision matrix that is comparable to an 18xx game. But many of the splatter titles can be included in that, and this very much is in that same rarefied air as an 18xx in that respect.
And like that, it can be unforgiving. Like you said when you were given that example of you forgot, I didn't account for that. Or rather, that you're going to market something to thwart another person's efforts. That's going to take them 2 turns to resolve that problem for themselves. It is unforgiving, but it does offer the opportunity to change the directions.
And on that note, I have not noticed a runaway leader problem. I've noticed a poor play has caused a runaway leader problem. Not the game, it's the other players have played terribly, which I am very much included in that.
Yeah, you've got no worries about, I think this building is overpowered. No, in this game. There's no runaway leaders created by that.
No, just the players are underpowered.
That's right. So, go ahead.
There are so many viable opening moves. Like, the first turn, do I want to hire a trainer? Because if I hire a trainer, then I'm going to be able to be the first one to train. If I'm the first one to train, that means I'm going to get the milestone that allows me to not have to pay my first 3 employees, which gives me a leg up on that. But then again, what if I do an errand boy and get drinks? Well, I'm not going to be able to market those drinks on the first turn, so I'm going to have to throw them away. Well, when I throw those away, I'm going to get a fridge, which then is going to allow me to store 10 goods in subsequent turns that no one else is going to be able to get. So now I don't have to produce food as much, and I can use those slots for other employees.
Or do I hire a recruiting girl and get my org bigger faster?
Right, if you're going for a long game type idea. There are so many.
A management trainee so that, get him promoted.
Exactly.
There's an odd timing element in this game. It isn't player timing, it's that resolution timing that we talked about. And the factors that relate to that resolution are all public information.
Like,
they're right there in front of you. House number 1 is going to resolve first.
Oh, yeah.
Or better yet, radio campaign number 1 is going to resolve first. Oh, crap.
Yeah, I didn't plan on that beer getting marketed before this Coke did, and now I didn't get any beer, and now I'm in trouble.
I mean, unexpected things can happen. Mitigated by paying attention, but yeah. But it's a weird, cool timing. I really love the sequential execution of houses and marketing.
To piggyback on top of that, you take a game like Craftsman, where you have to buy the building plans the turn before you can actually build the building. Just like in that, you have to market here the turn before the houses actually get the demand. Because it takes a minute, for marketing to work.
People have to make up their minds.
Right. And so once they're marketed to, the next turn is when they'll demand those things. They'll want those things. Mm-hmm. And so you have to train yourself to realize, okay, I'm marketing, but that's not going to really matter until next turn. So I need to plan for that, but I need to take that into account as well. Just layers upon layers upon layers. There's so many paths in the game, and even a small deviation from a similar path, if you and I are going down similar paths, but we just deviate ever so slightly, can lead to drastically different ends. Which, again, decisions upon decisions, big matrix. I'm a huge fan of that. We mentioned the whole drafting the board tiles pregame. I think that's a really, really fun variant.
Oh, yeah.
That I don't see a reason not to do that.
Yeah, we need to figure out how to do that for larger player counts.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a common pool. Like, I'll take that one.
Right.
I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pass around the hand of tiles. I mean, there's 1,000 ways to cut that.
Drafting is almost always better than not drafting when it comes to that. So something to think about. And just to kind of reiterate one last that we've touched on, that your opponents just force you to react. Mm-hmm. Someone monopolizing some houses, go market and screw them up. Or maybe throw some pricing managers in your structure and undercut them in price. Okay, let's say that's not your style. You're not going to be the cheap Burger King. Okay, fine. Open a new restaurant close or as close to him and hire more waitresses and beat them with better service. So there are multiple options to try and thwart other players as well as help yourself.
Lots of little levers, and they all factor into that odd timing element that we mentioned. All right, what about the other side of the coin? Anything in the game unfavorable?
A few small, points.
Okay, I have 2.
It's a big old table hog. It is a massive table hog.
Really need like a card holder.
Yeah, I said here that although we've devised a way to shrink down the amount of space needed, and some folks, like I know Travis, from over on Low Player Count. He made like a little
he did.
little
that flat thing with the slots.
Yeah. You can do something like that to save space. We stacked ours up like all of the drink people all in one.
I want to make like stadium seating for cards.
Yeah, I think that'd be an easy remedy for the table sprawl that this game does have.
Yeah. I'm a little upset that there's no chocolate malts in the game or chocolate malt meeples. I think that would be really cool, and I demand an expansion.
I could see that, sure. More resources, all right. Speaking of which, I guess you could say it's a bit fiddly with the resources. I really don't think it is, but I suppose...
Compared to Splatter titles?
I was going to say, compared to Indonesia...
It's almost like this game has no pieces.
And the two things, component-wise, that I mentioned earlier, I'm irritated about the lack of a milestone player aid. You know, it's easily remedied, but that's a pretty blatant overlook. And regardless of what Joris and Jeroen say, paper money sucks. Sorry, fellas.
It does. One thing that might turn off some people is that there is a definite experience level needed to play well. A lot's going to happen in the game where there's a lot of possibilities to grok, and the illusion of maybe a runaway leader can appear when players aren't well matched. I relate this kind of similar to 18XX in some ways. Not everybody is going to be geared to have this happen, but give the game some chances, guys. Heavy gamers, I don't feel, are a problem with this. They understand that to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. You're going to get a leg on yourself in the process of doing that. So
trial by fire.
Yeah.
Just understand it going in that you're not going to do so well the first few games. C'est la vie. Before we wind this down, we got some other questions from the guild that people asked that we thought were quality questions, and we want to hit on these that we didn't hit on throughout the rest of the review. So first up, Tony, how does FCM rate in complexity to other splatter games, especially the Great Zimbabwe? How do you each personally rank the splatter games in complexity? And then, if you were to revisit the same questions and substitute intensity for complexity, would any of the answers change?
For the context of this answer, I'm going to consider complexity to be how the mechanics and the action of the players intermesh.
Okay.
In that case, I think that this is kind of the top of the splatter category, in my opinion, of that regard. Player interaction is the tipping point for me with that. Roads and Boats has a lot of planning, a lot of complexity maybe, but players are not always in direct contact, and not so at the beginning necessarily. So it's the human element that adds the complexity that makes this at the top of the splatter chart, if you ask me. And similarly for intensity. That creates the intensity. I
went just straight rules complexity as far as level of complexity, and I said it's just not a hard game rules-wise. But the amount of possible decisions and directions the game can go is so wide that I put it competing for the top spot in terms of depth as well. As far as ranks in terms of complexity, of the main 6 that I've played, I'd put them all very similar, and those are Antiquity, Bus, Food Chain, Indonesia, Roads and Boats, and Great Zimbabwe. Intensity-wise, though, I would drop Bus, Great Zimbabwe, and Roads and Boats below the other 3 being Antiquity, Food Chain Magnate, and Indonesia, assuming intensity equals stress level and just intensity-wise.
Do you feel like an expansion might come out?
I'm sure that there's going to be fan expansions for restaurants.
Chocolate malts, hello.
Well, right, you said that, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe that. But we have some ideas for custom restaurants that we're going to put out there. Paul, Chad, and I have come up with a few, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fan-made ones. And I know there's some talk about, hey, maybe a 6-player expansion, whatever. I don't know that the game really needs any of that, to be honest. What game does this game fire? Is there anything close to it that exists?
Well, for me, I don't really feel like games fire other games.
Yeah, I don't subscribe to Jones' theory.
They fire themselves, man. I'll buy it, I'll play it, I'll decide to keep it or ship it off. That's really it. I keep my collection kind of trim. It's always changing. I'm not a hoarder.
I am.
So, hey, games fire themselves. I think that good designs are an art form. And so, like, if Food Chain Magnate goes into my collection, which it did, and Golden Ages goes out, which it did, there's no correlation.
Right. Do you think there's anything similar to Food Chain Magnate? I thought about this. I couldn't come up with anything.
Yeah.
But
No.
that's kind of a splatter hallmark. You look at Indonesia, nothing like there.
Yeah.
You know, there's just not much out there like splatter games.
What was the most memorable part of your favorite play of this game?
I think in our 2-player game, which was the most recent, having a plan coming into the game and actually seeing it play out successfully was pretty gratifying. That said, I still made an immense amount of mistakes along the way. I got to be honest. How about you?
Like in the first game, I did a marketing thing that hurt other players, and I was like, oh.
Light bulb moment type thing?
Yeah, so it's like how marketing can change the game midstream.
Were there any crucial decision points worth mentioning or that you'll remember for a long time?
Yes. In our 2-player game, I hired a luxury manager and subsequently fired her within a couple of turns and never used her. It was a complete waste of time, of my turns that could have been better used because the game changed and I could not monopolize. I did not have the time or resources to focus on monopolizing a block that I intended to monopolize with her because of some other marketing crap that you pulled out. So, moral of the story, every hire is important. You don't get mulligans. It costs something for you to repair your errors, so hopefully your opponents are going to make some errors too and give you a little time.
And then that's what I was going to say is there's no catch-up mechanic in this. The catch-up mechanic is either your opponent's just making an error of their own volition or you causing them to make a mistake. That's the catch-up mechanic.
But there is a mustard mechanic.
As far as crucial decision points, I got to be honest, there's just too many. Not one single one stood out to me yet, but that doesn't mean there won't be.
So this question I'm going to amend.
Okay.
At present, where would you rank FCM in your top 5 or 6 ranked economic games? So I'm going to amend it to say economic/business games. Wealth accumulation. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, in this genre of game.
It's as good business game wise as anything I've played so far. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to temper this I'm trying to temper this because it's Cult of the New, it's the most recent game and all that. I don't know that there have been a ton of business wealth accumulation. This, Indonesia, Container, all of them have been really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
You?
It's in the highest tier.
Yeah.
I just don't think in terms of 1 and 2s.
After playing this game, when's the Heavy Cardboard restaurant going to open up, and what's your number 1 item on the menu?
Well, the restaurant biz looks like awful hard work to me. I appreciate everyone in it, but I don't have it in me. But if I did, elephant steaks. That's the featured item, baby.
Not made from elephants, but just huge steaks.
Elephant steaks.
That makes me sad. Davis is scurrying off down the hall.
Ivory forks.
I grew up in the restaurant industry, and if I didn't have a bad back, realistically, I'd probably be a chef. So I love the idea of it, but no chance.
Have you gone out for fast food since playing, and do you have an appreciation for franchise owners, managers, and employees on the front lines?
Have not, and okay.
I do not eat fast food.
I try not to.
And like I said, I totally appreciate the hard work restaurant folks put in. We were at an establishment today. Our waitress was running her butt off. Customers can suck. The hours can be long and often in the wee hours. I am not wired for it. I fully appreciate and tip well.
I grew up in the restaurant industry. I used to be a server. If I didn't have a bad back, I'd probably be a chef. So I appreciate the amount of work that goes into being in the restaurant industry already. Fast food, however, yeah, not my cup of tea. Having never played a splatter game, would this be appealing to an 18xx gamer?
Hardcore lifestyle 18xxing train freaks? No, that's all they play. But for those that like this kind of an expansive game with a lot of room for mistakes and awesomeness, then I think they should be interested.
Yeah, I see the similarities. the decision matrix or decision tree or whatever is as vast as it is in an 18xx game, I feel like, or at least comparable. So if that's the appeal, just like what you said, yeah, I think so.
This may well be a lot of people's first Splotter, but what Splotter title do you think is best as a my first Splotter, and why? Which would be worse? Blah, blah, blah. Tips on teaching.
If theme will attract folks, I think this would be fine. I don't know that there are any kiddie-friendly Splotter games.
Yeah.
They're just... All their games, for the most part, are relatively easy as far as rules. Great. This one has great production, as does Great Zimbabwe. Food Chain has fun and well-integrated theme and tons of room for mistakes, like all great games should have.
It's a business war game, so it might not be a good first one, depending on if the players can handle it. Roads and Boats was my first Splotter. I think that could be a really good one. There's room to play without interference. Let people get familiar with the intricate logistics and the production tree. Then you can add on the interference. It has weight, it has length, and all those things to go with that space of game. So to see if a person likes these titles.
Well, now that I heard that, yeah, you make a good point. The other one that I would throw in maybe is Great Zimbabwe, just because it's short. It's about an hour, 90-minute playtime. So if that's an issue, I guess. But no, I like your Roads and Boats answer.
Cool.
Did you guys use any kind of organizer for the cards instead of laying them all out?
Yes, the table.
We stacked different upgrades on top of one another, and we found that worked well. You could always laminate the milestone player aids that everyone's going to print off and use a dry erase to make ones you've earned and cross off those that are unavailable. And that would help save room to remove the milestones from the table. So that's an option. But there are definitely going to be card racks and all this stuff people come up with. So keep an eye out for that.
What is the most absolutely vicious thing you've seen another player do in a game of FCM to slow down or cost another player the win?
Well, there are two, both in our two-player game. First off, I knew Tony didn't have any price managers that reduce cost, and he didn't have any waitresses either to help him with the tiebreaker. So I just made sure to leave enough holes in my corporate structure to choose to go first for tiebreaker at dinner time. And I ended up completely shutting him out from selling to any house whatsoever, since I had enough resources to cover all the house demands, and basically started up an engine that just kind of ran away with things. And the other brutal thing, really, it's such a simple thing, but just market something that the player doesn't have access to.
I think marketing is the absolutely most vicious thing, and it's not a specific instance because it's in every game. It's just market something that they have to react to. Thanks for your questions, guys. Okay, it's time to summarize our feelings on Food Chain Magnate. We're going to do this in two parts. Part one of each of our summaries will be addressing if the game lived up to its hype. Part two will be, where does FCM fit in your Splotter lineup? Edward, go.
I know I have to temper my thoughts on this, as it's such Cult of the New, but the amount of game that comes in this little box makes it tough. I'm just going to sum it up like this. I fully expect this to be my most played game come this time next year, of any game, period, fillers or otherwise. Did it live up to the hype? Honestly, it surpassed it for me. It was already my number one most anticipated game coming from Essen, and it really legitimately has exceeded everything that I hoped that it would be.
After each of my first two plays, I dreamt about this game. And apparently I wasn't alone. Matt also reported dreaming about this game. And so I started Googling this, and I found this thing called the Tetris effect. The Tetris effect is, and I have to read this, the Tetris effect occurs when people devote so much time and attention to an activity that it begins to pattern their thoughts, mental images, and dreams. It takes its name from the video game Tetris. People who play Tetris for a prolonged amount of time may then find themselves thinking about the ways different shapes in the real world can fit together, such as boxes on a supermarket shelf, buildings on a street, hallucinating pieces being generated and falling into place in an invisible layout. This was me. When I would wake up from the dream and think about what I was having a full-on Tetris effect from this game, man. So did it live up to the hype? Well, yeah, we were both pretty hyped about it when we were interviewing the Splatter guys. And that was not simply a case of being courteous to our guests. We were genuinely excited about the game. I do find myself contemplating different openings and employees to utilize. So the game's definitely made an impression on me, plus the dreaming. I think the game's got a lot of sandbox in it, and people can get lost in there. But to quote Leonard Skinner, what some people call lost, I call freedom. This game does not box me in. If I get lost, it was because I did not play well, man. I didn't react to player tactics efficiently enough. I said this about 18xx games, and I'm going to say it about this game too. It does have a current. As players build and market and produce, they're not just moving along the current, they're creating the current, man. And they're changing its speed and they're changing its direction. Some players are going to get caught in whirlpools, get sucked under. Some players are going to build a raft and ride that current, trying to steer that raft away and paddling to avoid the debris that's coming along in that current too. And with experience, the plays of this game can really, I think, develop into a flash flood. The current and its many variables will provide the considerable depth in this game. And we all know that even a little depth with swiftly moving water like this can topple you. So you better be prepared. So yes, hype lived up to. Solid candidate for 2016 Golden Elephant. So where does this fit in your Splatter lineup, sir?
All right, so I'm looking at mine behind me here, and I have 5 of the 6 main ones plus a couple of the lesser ones. And I'll be honest, man, there is no game that I've been more jonesing to play, even after playing this many times in a short amount of time, than this. I mean, not any game. I'm not talking Splat. I'm saying any game. Played it 6 times. I want to play it another 60, it feels like.
Right on.
So where would it be? It's going to be hard to put it above, Antiquity and Roads and Boats in Indonesia. But I got to be honest, all 3 of those games, there's kind of that's a big setup, that's a big teardown, all that type thing in there. This doesn't have that for me. I'm just really excited to play it again. I'm not going to say it's number 1. I will say that we'll revisit and see how things go in a few months. If the Jonesin is still there, then yeah, it very well might be. But it's in the conversation as my favorite Splatter.
Okay. I definitely want to be careful about Cult of the New and be respectful of the many hours of enjoyment from Indonesia.
Right.
One of my all-time favorite games.
Absolutely.
I've only played 6 Splatters, so in reverse order.
Bus.
1 through 6.
Oh.
Number 99, Bus. Number 5, Antiquity. Number 4, Roads and Boats. Number 3, Great Zimbabwe. Number 2,
Food Chain.
Indonesia.
Really?
Number 1, Chain Magnate.
Really?
I'm dreaming about it. I haven't dreamt about Indonesia.
Fair enough.
So to me, that was the tipper. They're both right up there.
Well,
I don't really do number 1s. So
to be honest with you, I think depending on the mood I'm in, I could make a case for all the main 5.
So rate this game.
Our rating on a 1 to 6 scale.
Yes, sir.
1 being it's not me, it's you. 6 being Hall of Fame. It's got to be a 6 for me. No game has me more excited for the next game after this many plays. Must play more FCM.
I definitely think that this has all the hallmarks of being a Hall of Fame game. It's really, really new, though. I'm still going to give it a 6, though. It's just a no-brainer to buy it.
Yeah, so if you dig our type of games, just get a copy.
That is Chain Magnate. Okay, we had a few stray non-FCM questions in the guild to address, so why don't we start with that? Let me ask you, sir.
All right.
I'm really excited to hear your answer on this one, actually.
I'm curious what you think my answer will be
I have
first.
no clue. I'm guessing Vlada Chvátil and Alan Moon.
Go.
Okay, what new collaboration of game designers would make you jump with joy? Personally, the author of the question writes, I would be extremely interested if Vital Lacerda would pair up with Nuno Santiago and Paulo Soledade and maybe even Gil Diore.
I'll be honest, that's hard to beat. That would
It
be,
is.
That would
That's
be
a
really,
Portuguese dream team,
I
man.
know, right? That would be really exciting. So I thought about I could go 18XX.
Right?
I could go War Game. I there's a lot of these, but I decided on this. How about teaming up Francis Tresham and Martin Wallace?
Okay.
I think that'd be fun. There are so many different combinations that you could throw in here.
Well, I came up with two.
Oh, hold on. He said, which single?
Well,
Who are you, me?
That's too bad. Yeah. Because I couldn't decide. Uwe Rosenberg and the Splatter Boys.
Okay, all right.
Wallace and Lacerda. That'd be one twisted economic game right there.
That'd be cool. Would you say Nippon was one of the greatest games released at Essen or the greatest game released at Spiel?
Yeah, haven't played.
Yeah, we're still waiting on our copy. What's up? What's your game?
Have you guys had a chance to play The Gallerist yet? I have a feeling it will have to be the topic of your next episode because, holy heck, it is a good one.
Nope, not yet. Haven't got our copies yet.
Nope.
Sigh.
Looking forward to it. I really want a good art-themed game, so...
That and the production quality is just
Yeah.
sick.
If you guys had only 30 minutes to play a game, what would you pull off the shelf? And what would you pull off if you had 60 minutes?
All right. I didn't know if this was like 2-player or multiplayer, like you guys,
Yeah,
meaning
there's-
you and I. So I went a few different. Here we go.
Yeah.
30 minutes, I would say some mix of Impulse, Battle Line, Arboretum, maybe SNCF or a ton, depending on player count. And if the player count's 3 to 5 and we have 30 minutes, I could see us doing a single play of Neue Heimat. For 60 minutes, if it's the wife and I, maybe Castles of Burgundy. Or if it's our group, 60 minutes? Yeah, that's a couple rounds of Neue Heimat.
I don't have an answer. I don't keep games in the bag like that.
Yeah,
you know, it's like
I don't either.
I favor too many titles. Different ones have better times, counts, goals. Who's here? What are we in the mood for? What kind of mechanic? What's hot? Who bought a new game? Yeah.
It's to answer this while I was waiting on you to show up tonight. I came into the game room. I started looking around, going, "Yeah, I guess we could maybe, maybe that. That one over, yeah." So it's, yeah.
Okay, let's bring this one home. Remind everybody how to contact Heavy Cardboard.
All right, our BGG Guild, number 2044. We just hit 500 people in our guild, which is fantastic. We would love to hit 1,000 soon. Twitter, at Heavy Cardboard. Facebook, Heavy Cardboard. Email, we love hearing from you folks. Contact at heavycardboard.com. And our website, heavycardboard.com. Last but not least, iTunes reviews. They've been lacking, people. Come on, let's get some. Go leave them, please.
Right on. Thanks again to Game Surplus for sponsoring Heavy Cardboard. Check them out, www.gamesurplus.com. Tell them Heavy Cardboard sent you. Be on the lookout for some Essen titles.
And last but not least, just a reminder about the contest that we're having. Thanks to the folks over at Cardboard Congregation. Head to our website, heavycardboard.com/contest. And we will announce the winner next episode. So the link is only going to be up for a short amount of time.
All right.
All right. So,
Food Chain Magnate.
yeah, that's a early favorite, or at least in the conversation for Golden Elephant
You bet.
2015.
You bet.
We'll catch you all in a couple weeks. We'll be recording the day before I head to BGG Con. And we're thinking ships as a feature review, maybe.
Woohoo.
So, to be determined. We'll catch y'all in 2 weeks. So, be safe out there and catch y'all soon.
See ya.